Okay, to continue on, if I had two functions, such as f of x equals 3x minus 7, and g of x is equal to 2x minus 3. And I wanted to find f of g of 5. F of g of 5. Well, when we had these before, didn't I take this 5?
You put it in the x.
And I put it in for the x, but since g is the number or the name of the function here, the first place I'm going to put this 5 is here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so f of g of 5, my first replacement would be 2 times 5 minus 3, which is equal to 2 times 5 is 10, minus 3 is 7, right?
Yep.
That's going to give me the value right here, isn't it?
Yep. What
then will I do with this 7?
Put it in
in
2x.
that equation for
Yep. You're exactly right. Now I go up to the f of x function, put in that 7, so that's going to give me 21 minus 7, which is equal to 14. Okay? What if I did g of f of 2 in those?
You just have one actual answer.
Yes. Yep. What will I do with this value of 2?
put it into the
Put it into the f function, right? So I'd have 3 times 2 minus 7. So this is step 1, which will be negative 1. And then the second step is I take this value and put it into the g function, right? So that means the g of f of 2 would be 2 times a negative 1 minus 3, which then would give me a negative 2 minus 3, be a negative 5. Okay? Okay. I want you to look at page 413. Problem number 17. They give you an f function that has a set of ordered pairs, right? Negative 8, negative 4, 0, 4, 2, 6, and negative 6, negative 2. And a g function of 4, negative 4, negative 2, negative 1, negative 4, comma 0, and 6, negative 5. This is similar to what we just got done doing. They want you to see if a fog or an f of g of x exists, and they also want to know if a g of f of x exists. So before, when we started, remember the problems that we had before? We had like g of f of 2.
Move it over.
So here's the way I would find out if I have a fog. I start with the function down here, the g of x function. If I put in a 4, I got an answer of a -4. Correct? That's what this is saying. If I put a 4 into the g of x function, I would get an answer of a -4. Then I go up here to the f function. Is there any first coordinate that's a -4? So this one doesn't work, does it?
Wait, hold on.
If I put in a 4 into the g function, I would have got an answer of a -4.
It's telling you the answers.
It's telling you the answers. Just like before, when you look back at your notes, when I had like the f of g of 5, I put in the 5, right?
Yeah,
And didn't I get an answer of 7?
yeah.
And then didn't I take that answer of 7 and put it back into the f function? And got another number, I don't remember what it was.
Okay.
So what I'm doing here is I'm taking the 4, putting it into the g function, I get an answer of a -4. Correct? I don't have the actual letter expression. I'm just going by the ordered pairs that they give me. Is there a -4 that is the domain of any of these functions? Up here? Nope. So the 4 -4 isn't going to work, is it? Okay, go over here to a -2. If I put a -2 in to the g function, I got an answer of a -1. Do any of these functions start with a -1? So that one's not going to work. If I put in a -4 into the g function, I got an answer of 0. If I put a 0 into the f function, do I have any ordered pairs?
Yeah.
This one, right?
Yeah.
So the fog would be, I started with a -4, didn't I? From right here? And I ended up with, when I made the comparison, because this 0 went up to this 0, doesn't it? I end up with an answer of 4. Okay. Going to the 6. 6 ends up being a -5. Is there anyone up here that has a -5? So the only fog that exists out of this whole thing is a -4, 4. Right? Let's look at it the other way. Let's go golf. Let's go golfing. That might be kind of fun today. Okay, if I looked at the golf, that means start with the f of x function. So I put in a -8. What do I get if I put in a -8?
-4.
I get a -4, don't I?
Yep.
What do I do with that -4? Put it into the g function then, right?
Yep.
Out of all these ordered pairs, do I have any ordered pair that starts with a -4?
Yeah.
So this -8 went to a -4. This -4 comes down here, doesn't it? So what's the domain of the first one was a -8. the range ended up being 0. -8 to -4, come down to your other function, -4, ended up being a 0, right? Go to the 0 one. 0 went to a 4. Is there a domain of 4 in any of these ordered pairs? First one. So if I put in a 0, I went to a 4, and I saw a matching 4 down here as a domain, and its range ended up being -4. If I put in a 2, what was my range? Okay, does that 6 as a range here end up as a domain down here? Okay, so if I started out with a 2, I went to a 6, this 6 matches up with this 6, doesn't it? Which would then end up giving me a -5. Okay, last one. I started out with a -6. What was my range? -2. So then I come down to my G function and find out if there's any ordered pairs that begin with a -2. There is, right here. Where does it end up at? So a -6 ended up giving me a -1. Okay? Does that make some sense?
Yeah, so is that your answer? Do you have more?
Yep, that's my answer. That's the one for the fog. I did only have one, didn't I, that matched up? And I had 4 of them for the golf.
And that's 4.2.
A -6 went to a -2, right? The -2 was down here, ended up at a -1. So if I started out with a -6, where would I end up at? -1. So the domain was a -6, the range was a -1. Is that okay? Here will be your assignment. Yippee! (18, 20, 28, 30, and 34). 18 and 20 are just like the ones that we did here. 28, 30, and 34 are like we did from the very first.
Do you want this?